What's happening, guys? Ali here with Run Pure Sports to recap all the big winners from this past week. We'll start off with our guy Hoop, who has been on a crazy heater this past year. When he's not giving out home improvement advice on our free weekly shows, he's shipping six-figure GPP hits, including his latest $136K haul in NBA.
Congratulations, another $100,000 hit. I mean, what's going on here? But now what was it in? Football?
NBA Friday night just it's actually crazy because the NBA stuff's so much news nonstop, but I had something to do Friday night. I built the team. I said, you know what? If news hits and I can't make the right changes, I don't give a fuck. We're just rolling with it.
It was just another day in the office for the Hoopster, who was more focused on refinishing his cabinets.
Guy that does some work at our house was able to sand them down and spray them to this white color, and I prefer the white. No, you don't like the home improvement. You don't like the carpet stories.
No, I apologize to our viewers. My fault.
People like this stuff.
Chunk of our lives we're never getting
the carpet
back.
Stories. People probably like the cabinet stories. You brought it up.
We don't give a shit about your cabinets. My bad.
And by the way, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you head on over and hit that subscribe button. Hoop's not the only one benefiting from our great Run Pure content. Shout out to RPS member Swint for not only shipping $20K in MMA last week, but also hooking up Hoop with his new Hunter Renfro jersey. Swint joined a long list of members crushing last week, including Roto Bowser, who banked $8,500 in NFL on FanDuel. C-Dub hit for over $10K on FanDuel. Woody I hit in NFL for $30K on DraftKings, and It's Uli hauled in over $72K in NBA winnings on FanDuel. These are just a few examples of the great success our members have been having lately, so join today and get access to all of our content and Discord, where our great members and hosts talk shop throughout the day about their favorite DFS plays. We've recently teamed with SaberSim to give you a great deal on a combo subscription that will give you access to all of our content, as well as their optimizer and projection system for a low price, saving you nearly $50 a month. So head on over to runpuresports.com, sign up today, and let's run pure. What's happening?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Hoop. I'm here with AP. And man, we have a slate to navigate. We got tons and tons of injury news on this slate, but we got the best crew to do it for you. Let's go on over to you, AP. I'm sure the heat map is getting adjusted all day long. I'm sure there's tons of changes going on, especially with some of the most recent news. Bradley Beal, I think that was like 30 minutes ago or so, maybe an hour, but obviously, we've got tons of news coming. We've already had tons of news drop. How is the day going, AP?
Yeah, it's going good. Lots of news, lots of players in the COVID protocol. It's just going to be the story until this thing passes. So, we're in it, though. We're going to find the winners. I think this looks like a really fun slate. There are a lot of good plays. So, if you're one of those guys, because there's or gals, there, because family time, the holidays, whatever, can't be checking things as much. I'm gonna tell you, this slate could be fine for you because there's a ton of good plays right away at 7 Eastern during the first lock period. So you can just jam in a bunch of those guys, maybe jam in a couple studs, and you'll be good to go tonight.
Yep, you can definitely do that if you want on this slate, or you could do it the other way. You could easily find some stuff later on. There's good plays all over the board. You can just sit back, relax, watch some Thursday night football tonight, or you can do it the Hoop way. You can fast forward to the Thursday night football after all the family stuff, and lock those winners in. Hoop, how is the day going? And it's Christmas light season for you tonight, it sounds like.
Yeah, I gotta finally have to give in and check out some lights tonight with the family. Good thing, it is kind of weird. Obviously, I'm against all of this bullshit that they're doing with the quarantining the players and then the testing nonstop. I think it's a complete sham, obviously, based on comments I've made in the past and on Twitter. But the one thing is, you actually get the news for NBA DFS kind of ahead of time. We already know all the guys obviously get Beal surprised, but these COVID things where these guys are sitting out, the news comes in far in advance. Then you just know these guys are out for 10 days. So we already have the value. It's just a matter of what the sites do with the pricing on some of these guys. So yeah, really, for as big of a slate as it is, like, we already have like a ton of news. We can already, lock in some really good value. Now it turns into one of those slates where we have so much value that you have to kind of rank the guys in terms of, which value guys do you prioritize. But there's a ton, very interesting slate. But like you said, like, we know the spots that are going to be very, very popular. A lot of it is early on. Do you play some of these later guys to be a little bit different? We'll talk about it. We'll go through the whole slate, but it's definitely a very appealing NBA DFS slate. Just tons and tons and tons of options.
Yep, tons and tons of options to talk about. Let's just dive in and do it because, obviously the NFL show, you're wondering, why were these guys on later? Well, that's because JSU, that's because Big T, Tambo, they like to talk, and they were talking about that Niners and Titans game. So if you want to go check out the premium stuff, go sign up at Run Pure Sports, check out that show, or check it out obviously after us. So watch us first. And if you do go to check it out now, at least hit the like on your way out, right? At least do that as a favor to us. So hit the like, subscribe to the channel to check out all of our content. But let's dive in. Let's talk about this Pelicans and Magic game, which, man, Pelicans and Magic, a good point that you brought up earlier, Hoop. You said, like, we have some values and we have to figure out what the prices, right? And the Magic are a team that they've been out for a little while now. So some of the prices have started to adjust. Now, I think some of these guys are still good plays, like on DraftKings. Chuma Okeke, 5.1K, definitely still a guy that you can roster. Franz Wagner at 7.4K. I think he's still rosterable, but you lost some meat on the bone, right? It's a little bit tougher to kind of get him to get there, but he easily could have a 50 fantasy point game and be a good play, but there's a lot of value on the slate. Robin Lopez, 4.5K, tons of center options to go to. I think this Hassani Graphic guy, I thought he was pretty decent. Seemed like not a bad option. I played some of him yesterday at 3.7K at shooting guard. You can get away with it, but there are really good shooting guard options. And then there's Gary Harris, which I just feel gross rostering. So tons to talk about there. And then on the Pelican side, you got the starting lineup of Graham, Ingram, Josh Hart, Herb Jones, and Hernan Gomez, and no Valanciunas. This is one of the bigger games to talk about on this slate, even though it's a 209.5 total, because there is no Valanciunas. Hernan Gomez becomes in play at the center position. Herb Jones easily could get some decent run at the 4K price tag and is power forward eligible. Hart is a good play, even though he's priced up at 6.2. There's just so much to talk about here on this slate and on this game starting at 7:00, Hoop. So dive in and break it down for me. What are you doing here with these two teams?
Yeah, a very important game right out of the gate, and one of the bigger pieces of news on the slate. Valanciunas out, and Valanciunas has been, I'd say, one of the more improved, impressive fantasy options all season long. The guys just puts up 40, 50 fantasy points on like a nightly basis. Well, he's out, and we get this, Willie Hernan Gomez, who historically has treated us very well when he gets a starting nod, when he plays, at least mid-20s in terms of minutes, which we're going to see tonight. And just super encouraging. When you pull up this guy's like game log, and I was just going to go through and see if we have any stinkers. This is a guy that plays between like 12 and like 18 minutes a night. He has not had one game where he had single-digit fantasy points. He's been in double-digit fantasy points every single night, playing between like 10 and 18 minutes. That's pretty damn impressive. Tonight he's going to play 25, 30. He could play into the 30s. I think he is one of the best value plays on the slate. Now, that's not, groundbreaking or anything. He's going to be very popular tonight. But when you start looking at all the value that's out there and you have to really start ranking the value plays, I think I still put him at the top of the list. Just seems like a slam dunk play tonight. Don't want to avoid him. I think just phenomenal DFS. But now you look at the Magic side, and that's where it gets a little more complicated. And like you said, these guys have been in this thin situation for a while. Price is starting to adjust. Played Franz Wagner last night. It worked out quite well. But at 7.4 on DK, I don't know if I want to go there. You look at Okeke, 5.1 on DK. Fine playing him on DK, but I'm not paying – I think he's like 6.8 on FanDuel. Like I can't pay 6.8 for him. Yeah, 6.8 on FanDuel. Robin Lopez has been playing well, 5.7 on FanDuel, 4.5 on DK. So really, you have to price shop for these guys. You got to, see where they're if you're playing on both sites. The Hassani Gravet guy, if that's how you pronounce his name, looked really good last night. Played well in the first half, but the minutes obviously pretty concerning. Still only played like 25 minutes. Last night we had a smaller slate. You play him, you probably did okay. Tonight you're probably going to need more. So won't really be playing him all that much. Hernan Gomez, I think, is like a lock on this slate. And then you got a price shop with the Orlando guys, assuming you're playing on both sites.
Yep, definitely have to price shop there. And then I don't know, it is the second night of the back-to-back for the Magic, and I don't think it's a huge deal, but would you be shocked to see, I don't know, Tim Frazier play 20 minutes, maybe play 25 or 28? And if the game blew out, would you be shocked if they maybe dove into some of these other younger guys? No, I wouldn't be completely shocked. It's something to mention, especially when you said it, Hoop, like when you're ranking the values. Like today is a day, if you play a value play and he gets you maybe like 2 fantasy points or 3, like you feel really behind. So
you're done. Oh, I mean, you're probably done with all the value you have. You're going to be dead. And the thing that concerns me with the Magic, they are willing to use these guys off the bench quite a bit, like Admiral Schofield, Tim Frazier, Gillespie. Like they used all these guys, and they're willing to give them extended run. That's the concern on this full slate where we have so many elite value plays. I don't know if I want to be risking it here.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. AP, let's go to you. Again, big game to talk about. I'm sure the heat map's got all the information on it. So if you want to get all the AP thoughts on that, check it out there. If you want to get our cash chart thoughts, get on the cash chart, check that out. But we'll obviously break it down here too, where there's a lot to talk about here, AP. So how are you ranking these values in this Magic and Pelicans game?
Yeah, I do think it's important to note that Wendell Carter and Cole Anthony are still questionable. So if they don't play, which they didn't last night, the Magic have 10 guys. But guess what they did? They played all 10 guys. So and I think only Franz Wagner played 36 minutes. So I'm with Hoop on this one. I agree quite a bit. Like I think Chuma Okeke's fine. Like this guy was like literally 0 for like 11 from 3-point range. I think he finally hit one late. Like it was like almost just like completely missed it too. It hit like the side of the backboard and somehow went in. I mean, he just was a disaster shooting. So you got to expect that he's going to bounce back at some point. So I do like him only if Wendell Carter is out. Robin Lopez, obviously just like a solid play. You know exactly what you're getting with Lopez. He's going to play right around 30 minutes. Everyone else, I agree. Like I think Hassani Gravett is like probably not as good of a play in this slate. Much bigger slate, much better options. He's not like he's more of a distributor. And like a guy that's just going to run the offense. Like he's not going to be aggressive, not a high usage guy. So I do have a ton of interest in the Pelicans side. Brandon Ingram, not a guy until recently that I've had a ton of interest in, but he's really taken. I mean, this is his team now. Him and Josh Hart. These dudes are playing big minutes and they're carrying this team. And then we got Willie Hernan-Gomez. I'm with Hoop on this one. The best value on the slate by far. This dude's averaging. So when he's on the court this season, he's averaging 1.36 fantasy points per minute. Now, mind you, that's off the bench. That's with the second unit, arguably, a higher usage rate, more opportunity. But still, if you look at the last 2 seasons, his rate is almost 1.2 fantasy points per minute when on the court. So really strong value. If he gets 30 minutes, he's going to absolutely smash here. He's going to be very popular and rightfully so. Devontae Graham in tournaments, maybe. I do think maybe Dinwiddie's going to be a much better play though with Beal out. We'll talk about that game. But yeah, for me, it's Brandon Ingram, it's Josh Hart, and Willie Hernan-Gomez.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good spot for Hernan-Gomez. Definitely someone I'm looking to get into my lineups. But there's the Jackson Hayes sitting behind him, right? Is he going to play for sure? AP, do you know the news on that? Because I'm just trying to think of ways he can go wrong. Because center's deep today. Definitely something worth mentioning. So is there any concern about a backup maybe possibly hurting Hernan-Gomez, or you think it's fine, AP?
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Hayes is another one of those just high fantasy point per minute guys. I mean, with how the NBA is going this season, if you are MME, I would have him in the player pool as a punt, not heavy exposure or anything, but Hernan-Gomez is going to be 60-some% owned. He's going to be higher the higher up you go in stakes as well.
Yeah. The reason I call it out too is center's deep today, and he looks like he's going to be like the go-to option at the center position when people are rostering. So there are other really good centers you can go to as well. So I'm just trying to think, like, what are the paths that could fail? I'm just trying to think through all the scenarios, but we broke it down for you really good there. Obviously, we'll talk about it on the Up the Lock show too when we get all that news, right? We'll probably get starting lineups for this game, so that'll be super important. Hoop, let's go over to the next game. Let's talk about the Rockets and the Pacers. And listen, Hoop, sometimes it's Brad Wanamaker season. This is not the day for it to be Brad Wanamaker season. I'll tell you that right now. It's just too many good value plays. So I am out on that. Obviously, Karis LeVert will see a really nice usage rate. And technically, is this technically a revenge game, right? Wasn't he traded to Houston but never played there?
Yeah,
right?
I don't think he ever played, did he? Right? He was on the roster, never played. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know how that conversation went. Did Karras say, well, why am I not staying with you guys? And then they said, well, we maybe don't want you. So I don't know how it went, but Caris LeVert, technically a revenge game, not exactly, but it is. Then you got Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner. Both of their size, they're going to be playing a ton. I mean, they're not going to dig too deep into this bench. Of course, sometimes you worry about blowout, right? It's a 9-point spread, but this is the Pacers. The Rockets have been playing a lot better. I'm not as worried about blowout here. Hoop, let's talk about it because I think Caris LeVert is a good spend up, but 7-7 is a tough tag. You can make an argument for Miles Turner on FanDuel. I think he's a really good player over there, especially with the stock upside that he can have. And this is a great matchup. It's the Rockets. We love to target this matchup. So I think there's some Pacers in play today.
Yeah, so if a good point you brought up about FanDuel. If you're playing on FanDuel, these price tags are just bad price tags. I mean, Caris LeVert is 6'4" on FanDuel, Miles Turner is 6'4", and then Sabonis is 8'6". If you're MMEing on FanDuel, I probably want two of those guys in almost all my lineups: LeVert, Turner, Sabonis. I mean, it just seems like 2 out of 3 of those guys are just such a lock to have monster performances, especially on FanDuel where they're so cheap. On DK, they're still in play. Caris LeVert at 7-7, I really like. Sabonis 10-1, Miles Turner 6-7. Those 3 guys, I think, just very, very strong plays. Brad Wanamaker, he's one of those guys that you could potentially play as a value that gets you like 5, and you're like, fuck, my lineups are done because every other value went for like 30 or 40, and I'm sitting with Brad Wanamaker who just got me like 5 or 10, 8 fantasy points, whatever it may be. So I don't like Turner today, I don't like Wanamaker today. I think much, much better value plays. I'm going to be focused on LeVert, Sabonis, Turner. And like I said, if you're playing on FanDuel, make sure you have heavy exposure to those guys. I'd make if you do the rules, make some sort of rule where you're getting in 2 of them. On the Rockets side, this is not a slate for the Rockets players. Yes, Christian Wood could have a big game, or Eric Gordon could get hot from 3 and have a good game. This is not a slate to play any Rockets as far as I'm concerned. Love the Pacers side without Brogdon, specifically the 3 main guys.
Yeah, another great reason they're price shop. FanDuel, LeVert is 6'4" versus DraftKings 7'7", so 1.3K difference. You got Turner, he's 6.4K over on FanDuel. DK, he is 6.7. It's only a $300 difference, but Sabonis 10.1K on DK, FanDuel 8.6. So, and also Turner, he's better on the FanDuel site, like I said, because of the stock. So, yeah, definitely very, very interesting price tags over there on FanDuel. AP, what about on DK? Are you going to be getting these guys in your lineups? Because I think they're good plays. They're not guys I'm prioritizing and slamming to my lineups, but I think they're guys that are in playing cash, and I think they're in playing tournaments as well, AP.
Yeah, all right. Here's the first thing you need to do. So if you're using the optimizer out there, Brad Wanamaker, what you want to go and do, in my opinion, is reduce his projection down. Because if you leave, let's just say the projection is like 23, and if you leave it alone, there's a good chance that he's going to fall into a lot of builds. In tournaments, he's not the guy you want, in my opinion. I agree with Hoop and Mangone here. Just so many other better value plays. I hate him in there too with Caris LeVert. We know the ball is going to be in Caris LeVert's hand. We know he's going to be running the offense here. Brad Wanamaker might bring the ball up and then hand the ball to Caris LeVert, let him run the offense. And that's kind of how it's going to be. So LeVert, I'm definitely fine with him. Pacers, outside him, I am not going to be playing anyone else. I do think Caris LeVert is a pretty phenomenal tournament play if you're multi-entering. He's a guy just that has a ton of upside, especially when Brogdon's out. So a guy I think you want exposure to in tournaments, and the 7.7K price tag is going to keep ownership down for sure. So that is the one guy I like on the Pacers side. And then, Hoop said it perfectly. Look, the Rockets here, they are running like a 10 to 11 man rotation. I think we saw like 12 or 13 guys get out their last game. It was a blowout. You don't want to attack that spot on this slate. Not the right spot at all. So easy pass for me.
Yep, agree on that. And some games we're going to breeze through. Some teams we're going to breeze through. Like Rockets, it's a quick, just X them out, move on. Some we'll talk more about. Guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video. Again, it helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. Alex on, we know he hit that like because he's asking us to. So we appreciate that. We also got Sean. He said, hey, guys, great calling Kevin Love yesterday on the premium show. I pulled $350 off the $50 entry. So awesome to see that for you there. Hoop,
hey, Mangone, real quick. Shout out to Gary, because they kept saying Kevin Love was active. And I just was like, with how the NBA has been going, I just was really concerned with the spot. And because why not just say he's in and that he's playing and he wasn't starting? We know he doesn't like coming off the bench, but Gary was very convicted about the play, said it was his favorite play yesterday. So huge shout out to Gary.
Love that. Yeah, no, definitely think, so Kevin Love, he's just a heads up going forward. He's probably not going to sit. He's never going to start, right? He just can't play like the 30 minutes anymore. So it makes sense to get that high usage guy off the bench. And by the way, big news now, Cole Anthony available to play. So that does change. And Wendell Carter Jr. available to play. That changes this Magic situation. Hoop, real quick. I mean, I'm assuming you're just going to say, hey, some of these Magic guys, and most of them maybe just kind of move off, especially with great value on the slate. Is that correct, Hoop?
Makes it easier. I mean, we got 11 games, and we can cross off teams. Like, the prices have already come up on most of the guys. Like we talked about, they're getting 2 high usage guys back. Just good spot to say, good, I'm avoiding crossing off.
AP, will you be going to the heat map, and will it just be a full on? Will you be just putting fade on all these guys, or still interested in some of them?
Like a donkey muted. Yeah, I mean, Cole Anthony showed upside earlier in the season, but you do wonder if this injury is affecting him. He's been pretty bad. And so, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go to him, but like, if someone wanted to get really different tonight on this slate, would I have a problem? No, I mean, point guards specifically have had a ton of success against the Pels here. And man, Cole Anthony obviously is a guy that can get it done. So I think if you're like playing, if you're a 150 maxer, yeah, I would, put the projection in. And if he hits a few builds, then fine. I think if you're a 1-3 guy, that no, you fade the spot.
All right, let's go to the next game. And Hoop, let's go to you because it's your favorite coach, Doc Rivers, and the Atlanta Hawks, which the Hawks are good value plays today. And of course, Atlanta, you might say, oh, it's a 10.5 point spread. I'm worried the Sixers might blow them out. It's back-to-back, but I don't think so. And the reason why is the Sixers, what do? They always play down to their competition. They always find a way to let these bad teams stay in games. And this Hawks team, it's not like G League bad, right? They have some actual NBA players on the roster. I mean, you still have Bogdanovich, who's on some type of minutes limit. You got John Collins, DeLon Wright, Cam Reddish, Gorgie Dang, and not so fast, but Lance Stevenson back in the league, just out of nowhere, just coming in there and getting 18 minutes. So you can't exactly trust the Atlanta Hawks coach, but you know what I can trust? I can trust DeLon Wright will get the minutes. I can trust Cam Reddish. I can trust John Collins. I think I can trust Gorgie Deng. I know Okongwu is sitting there, but the thing with Okongwu is he was on a minutes limit yesterday, and I assume the minutes limit is still here today. So Hoop, are you trusting these Hawks? And how many Hawks are too many Hawks? I think this is one of the bigger spots to look at now, especially with the Magic not being in play as much now.
Yeah, I think the key point that you kind of brought up there was the minutes on these guys. And on a slate like today, I want my value plays playing tons of minutes. And I think that's what you get here with the Hawks regardless. And we saw it last night with DeLon Wright. He has to play a ton of minutes. Started out super slow in the first half, but then had a good second half, played 38 minutes. Cam Reddish played 40 minutes last night, 42 minutes. Those are the guys I want to be on tonight. The value plays that eliminate a lot of the risk of, getting shitty minutes. These guys are going to play a ton again tonight. John Collins, I think, is a really good play. He was out there, played 41 minutes. The Hawks have an interest in winning games. And I think this is, the spread is 10.5, but I think it's close enough where the Hawks are going to play their dudes. They have to play better than they did last night. Give me DeLon Wright, give me Cam Reddish, give me John Collins. Dang, I mean, the 22 minutes, he could get there tonight. I mean, he's a guy that's capable of racking up a lot of fantasy points in minutes in a short period of time. But I want to be on guys that I know are going to play heavy minutes tonight. DeLon Wright, Cam Reddish, John Collins, all fit that bill, and all way too cheap for the role. Cam Reddish looked really good last night. Love all three of those guys. Those are the guys I'm before. I'm not going to guess with the Skylar Mays dude. I'm not going to guess with whatever Okongwu or however you pronounce his name, Lance Stevenson. I'm focusing on Wright, Reddish, Collins. Love them all.
Yep. Any run backs? Like, I mean, Joel Embiid, center's too deep today. I don't think you do that. But are there any run backs here you're looking at on the Sixers? It does feel like I don't want any right now, but if Doc Rivers ruled some guys out, which it wouldn't surprise me, we see ourselves maybe scrambling for some Sixers who.
One price point play, Tobias Harris on FanDuel is 7.1K, and that is too cheap for him, regardless of the status of the other 76ers. Like at 7-1, I'll play him when they're at full strength. He can kind of contribute across the board. So Tobias on FanDuel, strong play there.
All right, AP, ATL and the Philadelphia 76ers, definitely a good game to look at. What are you doing here with these guys? Are you plugging in the values? And of course, the question we always like to ask, how many Hawks are too many Hawks? Because it's definitely a spot where we're getting some Hawks in our lineups, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the better spots for value on the slate. I mean, man, the Philly is just struggling against wings. It's going to be another great spot for Cam Reddish, who took, like 24 shots. I don't think that they trust Skylar Mays or Sharif Cooper. So two of the other guards. I do think like Lance Stevenson is going to be a guy that they just, I mean, like, I'm not saying he's going to play DFS wise, but they're going to trust him on the court because he at least knows how to play team basketball, has a good, basketball IQ. And so he can play. And that just means more usage for a guy like Cam Reddish, Collins. I think they're absolute like smash plays, lock type plays today. Good matchup here against, Furkan Korkmaz, Seth Curry, these guys. You got to think Thibault gets out there too to help defensively, but they've just struggled against wings. So ton of interest in Cam Reddish here. Ton of interest too in DeLon Wright. I do think Maxey is going to be back tonight. So I think it's a good, better matchup here for DeLon Wright. He's going to push 30, 36 plus minutes, 38 minutes, like he saw last night. The one guy to keep an eye on is Okongwu. So he got into early foul trouble yesterday, played like 4 or 5 minutes in the first half and saw the most of his minutes in the second half and played a ton in the fourth and closed with them. So he was all over. He's a guy that can rack up blocks, steals, good defensive guy. So he's 3-1 and Mangone, I know that you're someone that, positions are important. You can play Okongwu at that forward spot. So he's not center only, utility center only. You can play him at that forward spot and he's 3-1. So I think if you're multi-entering or if you're playing tournaments, I do think he is someone to consider tonight.
That is interesting that he is at that power forward spot, not the center, because if he was only at forward, no way. And I was saving that segment for Jokic later on, which it is a good conversation to have. It's actually one of the better slates to talk about the center position because, man, it's oh, wow, we just got big news. Sabonis out. Sabonis. So no Sabonis.
Caris LeVert, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, like just plot. You gotta.
Center's loaded. Center is absolutely loaded too. I mean,
it's Miles Turner. Is he power forward eligible on DK? I know he's on FanDuel. No, he's not. So he's, oh man, a 6. So here's the thing. I mean, so you have all these value centers. Now you have a Miles Turner, if he is in and Sabonis is not, at 6.7K, and then Jokic too, who we know he's in that prime spot, which we'll get to. Man, let's wait to see if any more Pacers news comes in. We can circle back a little bit. Brogdon's out too, but we all kind of assumed that and figured it. But we'll definitely circle back to it. Let's move on and talk about the next game. Hoop, we'll go to our Detroit Pistons guy and talk about the Pistons and the Heat. The Heat, their prices are adjusted. I think we just don't play Heat. I think we don't play Pistons. This feels like a great X-off game. How about you, Hoop?
Yeah. Except Sadiq Bey, I think, is interesting. 5.4K on FanDuel. I wouldn't pay the 6-7 on DK, but with
that on FanDuel?
5-4. Did I say 4-5? 5-4.
Maybe I heard it wrong.
Yeah. Sadiq Bey 5-4 without what's his name? I can't even think of his damn name. Cade with Cade. Yeah. So I think that's fine. And then Diallo 4-4 on DK, I think is interesting. Not core plays, last guy in type plays, but definitely no Heat for me.
Yeah, that's fair. They're definitely guys that you can consider, but I will say like Caris LeVert now, right? Like he just seems like a guy I just want to slam.
Well, now you have locks. I mean, you have locks. Like, I mean, Turner has got to be close to a lock. Like Caris LeVert, I mean, fade at your own risk. I mean, really good matchup. Now the game, no Sabonis, much more likely to stay competitive. Like you just have more guys that you're locking in tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna get wild, and it could get.
It's so it's so tough on DraftKings though, guys. Like, I mean, we got Hernan Gomez, we got Nikola Jokic, and now Miles Turner, Robin Lopez, DeMarcus Cousins. Center is absolutely loaded on the straight.
I'll tell you right now, if you want to be unique now, which is wild to think, if you want to be unique at center tonight, you probably can be unique by playing Jokic. I mean, the fact that Hernan Gomez and Miles Turner are both only center eligible, those guys are going to be massively owned. Double center is going to be massive. Playing Jokic at 2-2 is probably going to be contrarian tonight.
Well, I think it depends because it is a slate where there's a lot of value, and those raw points in Jokic can matter.
Yeah.
What you could see happening too is, because there's so much value all over the board, you could see Jokic still gaining ownership because people just have money and they have so much value at other spots. So I think the best thing I would do is I would try to figure out what the center ownership is, and whoever, the two highest owned centers are, fade both of them and just play two of the other ones, right? There's just so many good center plays. That's a quick way to be unique, a very, very fast way to do it. And that could easily be, paying for Jokic, right? That could be a route where he becomes more under owned now, where I thought he was going to be a lot higher owned. So again, it's definitely going to be crazy here with all this news. AP, I think Hoop brought up good points about some of these Pistons guys. Are you letting them kind of hit your lineups, or are you just full fading this game?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm fading this game. I mean, yeah, the Pistons I'm not playing, and then even the Heat. I don't think this is that great of a spot. Yurt 7 was good last game, but just not the slate. I mean, he's only center eligible, so yeah, easy fade. Moving on for me.
All right, and Carter Jr. and Cole Anthony minutes limits, so not as great plays now. I just think that whole situation
just a situation to avoid. I mean, really,
full fade, easy full fade of the Magic.
All right, let's go on to the Wizards and the Knicks. 208.5 total, and Bradley Beal, he got ruled out, right? So we got Dinwiddie as someone that you can play at 5.3. Kuzma's okay. I like some of these guys. I think they're interesting. They have upside, but I don't know if they're priorities for me. I'm still kind of working through that. Hoop, how about you? What are you doing with these guys here against the Knicks?
Yeah, obviously big boost for Dinwiddie, Kuzma, and even Harrell to some extent. Like on DK though, it's hard to play Montrezl Harrell at center. I mean, he'd play only center eligible. I just can't. I can't play him over any of the other centers that we've talked about so far on the show. So he's probably out for me. Dinwiddie 4.6 on FanDuel. Definitely strong play, very strong value play. And then Kuzma 6.8 on DK, but again, on FanDuel, he's only 5.4, so much better price tag. So Dinwiddie and Kuzma more in play on FanDuel than on DraftKings, but the 5.3 for Dinwiddie on DK is still a guy to have in your player pool, especially if you're building the 150. Definitely keep Dinwiddie in there. Feel pretty good that one of Dinwiddie or Kuzma will have a pretty big game here tonight. Knicks, getting healthier. It's not the slate for the Knicks guys. I don't think. Alex Burks is 5.6 on FanDuel. You can play him there. I just can't imagine paying 7.8K for Alec Burks on DK when they're getting guys back. Barrett's going to be back. So yeah, no Knicks. Dinwiddie, Kuzma are fine, but much better on FanDuel.
All right, AP, I feel like you've played some Wizards, this season. You've taken some stands on them. Is this a spot you're going to take a stand on some of these Wizards with the Beal news?
I mean, man, they've been hurtful, but Dinwiddie 5.3. He's had big games this season when Beal is out. The other guy that gets the biggest bump here is Kyle Kuzma. Montrezl Harrell too, but gosh, him and Gafford are splitting minutes like Hoop said, and I'm not playing them. I have them X'd out, so I won't be going there. I mean, if you want to get really different, you could play them, but there's so many even better options that are way ahead of them that aren't even locked. So they won't make my lineup. So yeah, it's Kyle Kuzma just because you can play him at small forward, power forward, or that forward spot. And then Dinwiddie 5.3. He is definitely one of those guys that can put up a big number, and he needs to. I mean, he's coming off a terrible game. Was 0 for 7 from the field. but he was involved in the offense last game, which, was dominated by Bradley Beal. I'm kind of, it's a bummer for the Wizards because Beal finally had that breakout game against the Jazz and kept things close. And it would have been carrying in a ton of momentum into a winnable game against the Knicks, but we're not going to see that tonight. So yeah, next man up, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyle Kuzma, or Denny Avit. I don't even know how to say his last name, but with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope out, he's going to be the guy that gets the start. That's kind of where I'm at. And then, the Knicks side, I want to see who's starting because what Thibs has said is if Kemba's not starting, they're not going to play him. So like if they take him out of the starting lineup, are you guys under the assumption that he's not going to play? Or do you think he starts tonight and then he's back to that 20-minute rule? Like I honestly think I might just full fade the Knicks. Like I don't think that I need to go there. Alex Burke is priced way up. We don't know what RJ Barrett's minutes are going to look like. Fournier, his price is up. Like I don't feel the need to play any of these guys. So probably just full fade.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance he just doesn't play. I mean, they got RJ Barrett back. They were just one solid guy away from him not playing at all. They literally needed his body. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just doesn't play.
Quentin Grimes is the one guy I have in my MME pool. So he cleared protocols. He's good to go tonight. I think he was asymptomatic. So I don't think there'd be any minutes limit there. I think he's a guy that Thibs likes. I mean, in that one game, they didn't have many bodies, but he played like 41 minutes. So obviously a guy that they don't mind giving minutes to.
All right. Is there something on? Okay. So there's a COVID outbreak for the Pistons. It includes Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, Saban Lee entering protocol. So, I mean, some stuff can change with the Pistons. We'll talk about it. That'll be up to Lock Show. We'll be sure to break that down. You're going to need starting lineups. That can get all dicey. So let's leave that to those guys because that's tough to figure out, especially right now. Maybe we can circle back. Let's talk about the Bucks. Let's talk about the Mavericks. Before we do that, though, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video. Hoop, we're at 128 likes. We got 350 watching. What are we trying to get to? 200 here on Christmas Eve leading into the holiday season here?
2 spins, yeah, 2 hundo.
All right, let's move that up to 200. Let's get this show moving. Let's talk about the Bucks. Let's talk about the Mavericks. And Hoop, the Mavericks, they're definitely in play. Porzingis is questionable, so everything hinges on what happens with him because if he's in, some of those guys are overpriced. If he's out, I think some of these guys are still in play. So how are you handling that situation, and how are you handling some of the Bucks in the spot that they're in?
Yeah, Bucks, somewhat concerning with like Drew and Middleton on a back-to-back. Middleton only played 28 minutes. Did look good, though. He looked really good last night, but only played 28 minutes. If they have any reason to slow these guys down, they're going to. So I think they're a little bit too risky. Saw the weird thing last night with Grayson Allen just like not playing out of nowhere, never mentioned anything, just not playing. And then Cousins, I think, is the one I feel most comfortable with. But again, he plays the center position, and center is loaded. We have some of the best value on the slate at center. Makes it tough, but I would have him in the player pool. And then on the Mavs side, only guy I could really see myself playing is Jalen Brunson. Phenomenal. Actually, I mean, I want to play him. I think he's a really good play. 8-5. It doesn't feel right, but he's played like 8-5 player. And then he's 7-4 on FanDuel. Really good price tag there. Porzingis, just not going to play him regardless of whether or not he is in or out.
All right, AP, I'll go over to you. I mean, the Porzingis stuff is big. So what are you doing with him when he's in, he's out? And how are you handling the Bucks here with Middleton and Drew having some pretty decent games and having some good usage right now?
Yeah, we'll have to revisit the Pistons spot because it's going to be interesting. Luka Garza is most likely going to start. Been tearing it up in the G League, like
another center, we
used to say. Another center on the slate.
Yeah, they're actually going to be pretty thin.
He's going to have to play like 30 plus minutes. Oh, this slate's going to be fun. Bucks, Mavericks, Bucks on a back-to-back. Jordan Nwora, just man. I was actually updating the heat map, so I don't know if you guys talked about him. Sorry, Hoop, didn't mean to just zone you out there, but Jordan Nwora, like, how good has this guy been playing? He's been phenomenal. Got there in just 26 minutes yesterday. I think they lean on him here. I think he gets some decent run. He's a guy I would consider even at 5K. DeMarcus Cousins, he's going to get his run. centers have just, smashed this Mavericks team. And they're thin at that position. Like they don't have anyone that could match up too well with them. We got to keep an eye on the Porzingis news. You're going to get a funky lineup on the Mavericks side. Chris could get in there. But yeah, it's on the Mavs side. It's Jalen Brunson. He's going to be the full offense there with a little bit of Sterling Brown and Dorian Finney-Smith. Only if Porzingis is out. If Porzingis is in, I think, I actually don't like, I think he's fine, but man, like when the Mavs need him to carry them, like he's kind of struggled to do so. He's only done it a couple times this season. I mean, he's had a couple of big games, but I wouldn't consider him to be like a smash, like lock type play. I do think there's risk there. And then, yeah, on the Bucks side, I mean, Chris Middleton, he's on I think they're going to, monitor his minutes. So I don't know if I want to go there. I think Drew is fine. But for me, it's Jordan Nwora and then another good center on the slate.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a loaded slate. Obviously, a lot to discuss. I do think with Porzingis, keep in mind, they play on Christmas. Yeah, might not be a bad spot to sit him. And even if he does play, maybe not give him all the minutes in the world. So more guys entering health and safety protocol. Now what do we got? Jared Culver. Is that the guy? I don't know if there's any more that are popping up here, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously more news to come. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next game. Let's talk about the Thunder and the Suns. And man, a team that dodges the COVID protocols is the Thunder. I don't know how they do it, but they find a way. They must, whatever they're doing over there, everyone should take some notes because they just never have guys in that. And then the Suns, I don't know. Do I want to spend on Ayton, Paul, Booker on this slate, especially against the Thunder? This feels like a great fade spot. Hoop. How about you?
Yeah, I'll just be off this game. I'll take my chances. There's just really not any plays that stand out, especially on DK. Like they're not priced good. Like Chris Paul 9-1, Booker 8-6, Ayton 8-3. Probably the only three guys I'd really play, and they're all kind of priced up. I think this is a great game to just forget about.
All right, AP. How about you? What are you doing with this game? Feels like a good cross off to me.
Yeah, I agree. If you're looking at Shea Alexander, look, man, Malone punted that game yesterday. He put the scrubs in, took all the starters out. Shea played the entire game. Like they were like blowing out Denver and he was playing against the backup. So like, I'm not buying it. We're not playing him against the Suns here. I think it's an absolute disaster spot and people are going to chase it. I know they are. His ownership is going to be higher tonight than it was yesterday. So yeah, I mean the Thunder, like they need to keep Shea, keep Giddey, and then get rid of everyone else and just like start fresh. Shea is good, Giddey is good. They don't even play Giddey like as many minutes as he should be playing. He should be playing 36 plus a night. And look at him, the guy's super athletic. There's absolutely no reason why Josh Giddey can't play 36 minutes a night. I mean, the dude can absolutely ball. He can distribute. He can create offense. But anyways, that's another conversation. This game, full fade for me tonight.
All right, guys, again, subscribe to the video. Helps out a ton. Give us 45 more likes. And once we're at 200, we'll give the plays of the day at the end of the show. Let's move on over to the next game. Let's talk about the Timberwolves and the Jazz. 228 total. Timberwolves, though, they are dogs. 12.5-point dogs to be exact. And D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, they're guys we've been playing recently because Ant has been out and they definitely have seen a decent amount of usage their way and been good plays. Hoop, is this the slate to play them or is this a spot to just say, okay, we've played Timberwolves, but now's the time to jump off and play some other values and other top guys?
Yeah, so I mean, you're going to see a little trend in the show. We spend a lot of time talking about the first half of this slate. You get to the second half, and it does fall off from a fantasy perspective. Now, the ownership is also going to come down when you get to these later games, but these spots are just not all that good. We've been playing Timberwolves for sure, but a trip to Utah is very, very difficult and not very appealing for DFS purposes, and the prices are now starting to come up on these Timberwolves guys. Honestly, my favorite Timberwolf is probably Jaden McDaniels. Like he's been playing really solid lately and a lot of minutes. So I could see him, I think he got 30, he played 39 minutes last game. So he's someone I would have a little interest in full MME, not if you're playing like 2 or 3 or even 5 lineups. And then the Jazz, I don't typically play the Utah Jazz, and I look at these price tags and makes me feel good about it. Mitchell at 9.5, Gobert at 9.7. I'm just not all that interested. So Jazz are a team I typically don't play. I don't like this spot. And then for the Timberwolves, very tough. I mean, we've been playing some of these guys, but a trip to Utah is going to pump the brakes for me. So another game that I'll be mostly off.
Yeah, I think I'm mostly off this one. Just not a great spot. AP, how about you? I mean, you look at totals and people would say, hey, like Jazz and Timberwolves, you got to consider it. But I don't love it here. I think D'Angelo Russell was a good spend up option. I still think he is a decent one, but there's like Karis LeVert feels like a better one. You can make an argument if Porzingis is out, Brunson's a better spend up guard. So you can make arguments for D-Russ being a better play. Cat, it's rough at the center position, but what are you doing here with these Timberwolves and then the Jazz side as well?
Yeah, I had to do a double take the other day when I saw this Leandro Bolmaro. Thought it was Leandro Barbosa. I'm like, man. I know they're bringing everyone back, but damn. Yeah, I'm with you guys here. I tried to get cute the other day playing a team against the Jazz. It was actually Charlotte, the Hornets. And actually, LaMelo Ball, he did enough. He didn't crush me. I think he almost had a 50 piece. And so, I mean, we're going to be fine with that. But still, we don't play players against the Jazz here. And the Timberwolves, even if some of these guys are going to be out, they still have plenty of depth. So yeah, I'm pretty much off this game. I mean, if you think it does stay close, I would say D'Angelo Russell has to have a big game. So that would be the one guy I would look at. I'm not playing Cat here though in this spot.
All right, and man, what? See, this is the news. This shakes everything up. Kevin Huerter could be available to play Thursday. The team is waiting on his test results. So, like, if Huerter slides back in, this changes a ton of stuff.
Are they testing these guys like every second? Like, why not test them in the morning? Like, why even? That's just another
disaster situation. Yeah. I mean, whatever.
Well, that's something that, again, the Up to Lock show can take care of. We don't have the news on it, but something to monitor. That's all.
Yeah, that complicates a lot, really, to be honest with you. I mean, that's actually really, it doesn't seem like Kevin Huerter would be slate changing news, but Kevin Huerter is slate changing news.
What they're going to do is they're going to play him, Reddish, John Collins, DeLon Wright. They're going to get rid of Skylar Mays. They're going to get rid of Sharif Cooper. Those guys are going to be non-factors at all. And then Lance Stevenson is going to play that 20-minute role. Yeah. And then Bogdan is still like on that minute limit.
What do you think here's the other thing. What do you think they do with Bogdanovich? Because Bogdanovich obviously is on a minutes limit as well. And he will remain on his minutes limit.
20 minutes, 20 to 24.
Here's the flip side too. They play on Christmas at noon, right? Like it's kind of a quick turnaround to that Christmas game. So again, I think there is a little more risk to some of these Hawks, especially with Huerter being in there. And it's just worth discussing because I do think that there's a lot of value on this slate. We can move on though. I mean, obviously Up to Lock will take care of that. And if we see anything, we'll try and discuss it. Let's talk Nuggets and the Hornets real quick. And man, we might take some time on this because again, Jokic is he's the best spend up on the slate. If you had to say just raw points don't matter, Jokic is the best play on the slate. The problem is he is the heftiest price tag. And it's worth it, but the problem is there's so much center value. So Hoop, I was in the camp of playing Jokic. Now I'm starting to struggle on it, especially with the Turner stuff and all the value opening up. And like Luke Garza might just get full run, and they might only have 8 guys with the Pistons. I don't know the exact count on them right now, but it's getting harder and harder to roster Jokic. And it does feel like if he is on the winning lineup, he might have to put up like an 80 spot to be on the winning lineup, or like a massive one where like the raw points of like someone getting 55 versus Jokic getting like a 70, it might not matter because of just how positions are here.
It's very interesting. I mean, the slate it's a very interesting slate, a lot of different ways to go about it, but I mean, very clear, Jokic is the top raw projected fantasy score on the slate by a wide margin. Now, if you play him, you're going to need other value plays to match Willy Hernangomez or Miles Turner. That's where this all comes into play, especially on DraftKings, where we have all these centers that are really, really good. You're going to need values at other positions to kind of match them a little bit, assuming Jokic is the highest owned guy. And this is where the game theory all comes into play. And you really have to think about it. Getting exposure to Jokic, I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to find a way to be over to the field on Jokic if I'm MMEing. Like It's a great spot for Jokic. They sucked last night. They got their ass kicked against the Thunder. Malone pulled the plug early in the third quarter. These guys played no minutes. Now they get a spot here against the Hornets where it's ideal for Jokic. He's going to feast today. Massive total, 230 total, which is big for this day and age in the NBA. And the Nuggets only favored by like 3. This is just an ideal Jokic spot. I want to get over the field. Now it's where you really have to figure out, like, what's his ownership going to be? I think it's lower than anyone projects. So whatever anyone's projecting on these sites, I haven't looked. We haven't had a chance with all the news that continues to break. Whatever sites are projecting, I'm going to assume it comes in even lower because the center is so loaded. Just want to make sure I'm over the field on Jokic in full MME. But he's the only guy I can really consider in this game. I guess on the other side, Gordon Hayward is 6'6". That's an interesting price tag. He has the 50 fantasy point upside. But really for me, it's just going to be Jokic here.
Yeah, if they were some last pieces in, like one guy randomly as a run back, I wouldn't hate it. And I mean, another thing to talk about, Hoop, is the Nuggets, they sat Jokic last night. Like they just didn't bring him back in. I mean, he didn't get that full run. It's like, okay, well, with the back-to-back, there could be reasons why you expect him to be more of a full go here. So AP, are you going to mess around with Mike Malone tonight after what he did last night? Or are you just going to go to some of these value centers here?
Yeah, I mean, he has the best matchup on the slate. I mean, centers just absolutely destroy the Hornets. The pace is going to be fast. This sets up to be like a triple-double by halftime game for Jokic, and he's like the one guy on the slate that can actually do that. I think in tournaments, you want to be very overweight. If you played him yesterday, you have to go back, in my opinion, and play him tonight. It's just, I agree with Hoop too. Like, I think with all of these elite centers tonight, I think it's going to dilute ownership at that center spot. So it's a 2-center night for me. Jokic and Willie Hernan-Gomez is probably going to be the guys that I'm most comfortable with.
Another piece of news, Rodney Magruder has entered health and safety protocols, which is a Piston, right? And that's knocking another Piston off the board that could have got some minutes. So Pistons, we got to get a count of what their exact guys are going to be. So again, Up to Lock Show, they will definitely take care of you guys on that. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe on the video, helps out a ton. Once we get to 200 at the end of the show, we will give out those plays of the day, or we'll pull the plug, which we can easily do, but we don't want to do that. It's the Christmas season. We're giving out tickets, right? We don't want to do that. We want to give out those plays to the people. So get us home here while we got 2 games to discuss, and it's the Grizzlies, it's the Warriors. And man, I've seen some people talk about playing some Warriors today, but on this slate, I don't think I want to roll the dice with too many Warriors. I know Steve Kerr can go deep enough into that bench, and I just don't think it's the right spot to play the Warriors. Hoop, I'll go over to you on this one. Grizzlies and Warriors, I don't know. You can make arguments. Yes, some of these guys could be on the optimal or the winning lineup, but I just don't think it's worth the risk compared to some of the other plays in the slate. But the slate has changed a little because we have lost some Hawks value possibly if Herder's back. So what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's one of those games that I'm excited to watch more than I am to roster fantasy pieces. Like, this should be an exciting game between the Grizzlies and the Warriors. The Grizzlies, I think, are a solid team. Warriors, obviously, one of the more impressive teams out of the gates here. So it is hard, though, to play some of these guys. The Grizzlies have Morant back, so it takes away from all the other guys that we were kind of playing. And then Steph's fully priced 11.9. I will say, though, Steph is 9.7K on FanDuel. That is a very good price tag for him. So I do like Steph on FanDuel at 9.7. The 11.9, though, is difficult. But, if you're going to play 2 of these cheap centers on DK, you are going to need a spend. I'd keep him in my player pool, and the hope is that he kind of matches Jokic. Can he match what Jokic does? Personally, I don't think so. I agree with AP. I think this is a game where Jokic just shows out 10, 10, and 10 potentially at halftime. So I'll have him. I think you keep him in your player pool on DK. FanDuel strong play at 9.7, but everything else in this game is just not very appealing.
Yeah, it's a tough one. AP, how about you? I mean, in MME, you can definitely mix and match some of these guys in your lineups. I just don't know if I want to that. And I play less lineups there. I'm not playing 150 today. Definitely a tough one to navigate. But if you are on top of it and you are able to navigate it, you could gain an edge. So do you see any edge here with the Warriors and the Grizzlies?
2 teams that both teams, it's kind of interesting because they like to play with pace, which is what we like for fantasy purposes, but they both play good defense, especially this Warriors team. And when Dylan Brooks is in there, and Desmond Bane, the Grizzlies have been very good defensively. I think they just – and both teams can go deep. Like the Grizzlies run a rotation where you can get 10, 11 guys out there, just not fantasy friendly. We have no idea how many minutes Ja is going to play. If he was going to play his normal role, like at 8-6, yeah, I have interest. But if he's only playing 28 to 30, I don't have interest, not against the Warriors, a team that's just been very good defensively. So the one guy I will say, Draymond Green in tournaments, another matchup where he just, man, like with Wiggins gone, with Poole gone, that usage is up. He's running the offense, trying to get Curry open, and he's getting a lot of opportunities himself. So he had a triple-double last game. This spot is a little bit tougher. He was playing against the Kings, who are very thin, so it was an easy matchup. Tougher spot here, but Draymond in MME only if you're playing tournaments.
All right, let's move on over to the last game. Let's talk about the Lakers and the Spurs, which, man, DeJounte Murray, I mean, the price tag on him, 9.9K. Definitely someone that you can look at and play as a spend-up option at the point guard or shooting guard position. And then if you look at LeBron James, he has been absolutely crushing it. Definitely someone that I would look to go to here on this slate. He's also got that forward and guard eligibility over on DraftKings, so that matters. What are you doing here, Hoop, with LeBron James? Because he's a good spend up. Like, you can make an argument. LeBron without AD, I mean, he's just been an absolute takeover mode. I know he got hurt the other day, but if you tell me he plays the whole game, yeah, against the Spurs, I think this is a great spot. And DeJounte Murray is another good one too that's been absolutely crushing his price tag. And we talked about it. The projections are having trouble catching up with it. The price tag still having trouble catching up with it, because you could argue he should be 10-5 the way he's been playing. So what are you doing with these studs, and are you mixing any value plays in?
Not a game for value. I mean, we have all the value we need. Potentially we get more. I don't want to play any of the cheap options from this game. The guy I do have a lot of interest in, though, is LeBron James. Like you said, without Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook sucks. LeBron's kind of in that mode where, you know, he knows if this team's going to be successful, he needs to start taking over. And we've kind of seen that recently. And, you know, 11-3 on DK. Yeah, I'm fine paying that. We have all the value in the world to make it work. So LeBron James is a fine spend tonight. Really, really like him. I mean, we have a game where the spread is 1.5, basically a pick 'em here. That's what you want. Competitive game, LeBron James, they need to start winning games. So yeah, give me LeBron. I'm not playing Westbrook at 10-7, like no chance. Not playing the value on the Lakers. And then DeJounte Murray is a guy I think is interesting to mix in. I mean, I'd prefer, you know, to maybe pair him with LeBron James and hope that this spread and total hold true. A close game, 225 total, get a little back and forth. I mean, it's crazy to think, like last year, DeJounte Murray, we were paying like 6.5K, 7K at the most. Like he's 10-3 and he deserves that price tag. Just monster games this season. One right after another, a 72 spot last time out. Like this guy deserves a price tag, continues to come in low owned because people are having trouble adjusting. Even me too. I mean, it's tough to really roster DeJounte Murray at 10-3, but man, he deserves that price tag. So just Murray and LeBron for me in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. And one thing to mention too, like I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, randomly LeBron could be ruled out with a Christmas game coming up. They say he's probable, but you never know. If you are going to play him, put him in that point guard spot or the guard spot if you're able to, right? Don't force it too much. Gives you the ability to go down to DeJounte Murray, or if he did get ruled out, go to a Russell Westbrook. You could be, if you play him in the small forward spot, you could kind of be a little screwed if things don't go your way. So something to think about when you're kind of building out your lineups. I'm not saying you force it in there, but it is something that you can consider, obviously. Kay Fallick always likes to talk about the construction and making sure you don't have guys in like a spot that they shouldn't be, you know, put them in the guard or put them in the forward. Make sure they're in the right spots today, because there could be flexibility you need that you might not realize on this slate. So that's worth mentioning. Like Jokic. Jokic is a guy, if you are going to play him, you probably want him in that utility. You probably don't want to plug him into that center spot. So something to mention here when you're kind of, you know, making your lineups and building them out. AP, Lakers and Spurs, are you going to spend up on a Westbrook, a LeBron James, or DeJounte Murray, or are you going to pass on them and go to some value plays in this game, or full fade the game?
Yeah, no, I love LeBron as a hammer here. A couple reasons. Like LeBron actually has been the one guy playing decent for this team. I mean, he shot like 60% from the field. Actually, him and Russ were both okay last game. Russ not as good defensively. The rest of the team, a disaster. They shot like 22%. They absolutely did nothing. Isaiah Thomas was like 1 for 11. Talon Horton-Tucker was like 1 for 13. They were terrible. I think, and the other thing too is LeBron loves these games against Popovich, the coach that he just absolutely peels to. Just like, man, they're going to be hugging before the game, hugging after the game. Go look it up. Go to StatMuse, look it up. This dude averages like 60 plus fantasy points per game against the Spurs. For some reason, Pop brings the best out of him. He's going to be my highest owned stud, him and Jokic. And it's super easy to fit both those guys into your builds tonight. And then, DeJounte Murray in a really good matchup. The guards are absolutely torching the Lakers right now. I mean, man, he's going to get Russ on him. And then, maybe, whoever's going up against Isaiah Thomas, I want that person. Not a good defender at all. So it's LeBron for me, DeJounte Murray in tournaments. I do think we should talk about the Pistons for just a little bit. It looks like they'll have 9 guys maybe tonight, maybe 9 or 10. And you're gonna, I'm showing a projected lineup of Corey Joseph, Frank Jackson, Hamidou Diallo, Sadiq Bey, Luka Garza. Then you got Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles as the key guys off the bench. And then they signed Cheikh Diallo to a 10-day contract. So he's going to be another guy to factor in to the rotation. And then I have no idea who the other guys are. Isaiah Livers and Jamorke Pickett. No idea who those guys are.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting here with how it all shakes out. We also have RJ Barrett got rolled out and Obi Toppin available. So worth mentioning that with the Knicks. Kemba Walker is in the starting lineup. So if you are interested in playing some Knicks, and Kemba Walker, like we talked about before, that's the news that you got if you needed that. Hoop, I think we're able to do the plays. We're at 200 likes exactly, so we can give those out. But before we do that, what's your thoughts on the Pistons? And then we'll move on to the plays of the day.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more in the conversations. Again, another 8, maybe 9 player rotation. Thing that stands out to me is they have no guards. Their bench is all forward type guys. So Corey Joseph and Frank Jackson are going to have to play a ton of minutes here. I guess Josh Jackson can kind of play a lot of different spots, but regardless, they have no guards. Those guys are going to play a ton of minutes. Very tight rotation. Diallo 4-4 on DK, 4-8 on FanDuel, and play on both sides. Sadiq Bey, the 6-7 on DK is not great, but on FanDuel 5-4, and then you get a 3K center in Garza that's going to have to play a lot. He had that game not too long, was that a few weeks ago? And he had a big game at one point. I can't find it on here, but it's the spot that we want. 8 guys, maybe 9. They're already playing a ton of minutes. They're going to play a lot of minutes with more usage. So very appealing spot for the Pistons, I guess, out of nowhere. I mean, the matchup sucks against the Heat, but it doesn't matter. These guys are just going to play. And then, the Knicks situation, we kind of wrote off Kemba when we talked about it. Feel like Kemba, he's going to play a lot of minutes. I mean, when he's in that starting lineup, he's playing the minutes, 37, 39 minutes, back-to-back 40 fantasy point games. It's a good spot against Washington, I think. So Kemba's back in the conversation a little bit.
All right, let's move on over. Let's talk about the plays of the day. And ownership's going to be everywhere. We might give out someone, and then all of a sudden they're just like a stone lock or in a really good spot. So we'll do our best to navigate it. AP, let's go to you first. Who do you got? Who is your play?
Can you go to a Hoop first? I got something going on here.
All right, you got something going on. Hoop, do you have, or if not, I can go first if needed. What do you got here, Hoop? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Tough. It's tough.
It's tough. I mean, I definitely had ideas going into it, and then things.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good now. I can go if need be.
All right, AP, go first. Who do you got here? Who's your guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a vetoed play, but I would make the argument that it shouldn't be because the position is loaded. I'm going to say Nikola Jokic. I'm going to say he is too shy of either an assist or rebound of a triple-double by halftime against the Hornets tonight.
I don't know. Hoop, what's the veto?
Oh, it's one of those slates where it's just man, the good plays are just the good plays. There's certain guys you just have to play on the slate. I mean, Yeah, it's good to go because mine will probably get vetoed. So I don't care. It's just one of those slates where you just don't need to play the off the wall plays. Like it's just you play the good plays tonight.
I don't disagree. Who's your guy then? Let's hear it. Who do you got here?
I'm going even more. If I need a new one, that's fine. But Karis LeVert, just play him. Like it's just like way too good of a situation. Like I know he's going to be popular. Like just don't get cute. I think he's almost like a lock button play. Like people, here you go. Fade Wanamaker and play LeVert. Like Wanamaker's popping now in projection models. I just pulled it up. Like don't play Wanamaker and just lock in LeVert. So lock button LeVert. 50 fantasy.
I would play Lance Stevenson tonight over Brad Wanamaker. I bet.
And Wanamaker's popping.
I'm not saying play Lance Stevenson. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I bet he outproduces him tonight. Yeah. I'll go on record saying that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I have here is like ownership has changed so much. Like I don't know where it's all going.
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
Hernan Gomez got ruled. Yeah, Hernan Gomez got ruled the starter. So I don't know where all the ownership is going. I'm pulling up some to look now and see. I mean, the other guy I was going to give might be owned a bit. I was going to give Diallo. Are people going to really play Diallo, though? I didn't know how that would shake out. I guess the problem is with the Cam Reddish news, right? Like that might move some ownership from him.
Which Diallo now?
It would be Hamadou, right? And
he wants Check.
It wouldn't be Check. It'd be Hamadou. And the reason why I like him when I'm looking at these Pistons, right? And I think Luke Garza, and this will help break down the Pistons a little bit too. Oh gosh, Cat's in health and safety protocols. I mean, everything's changing, right? So now we lost Cat. Nas Reed is now like an amazing player.
Where's that? This is fine. The fire gif. That this is fine. That's what we need.
Well, if they're gonna, I mean, here's my take on all this. Like, if they're gonna do this shit, just shut it down. Like, I mean, it's just not fair to some of these teams. Just like if they want to keep doing this health and safety protocols bullshit, and just shut it down until they can figure it all out. Not good for business, obviously. I mean, that's not good for Rumpier Sports, but like, dude, it's like just like stupid.
Well, the other issue is they're humans, right? And like, I don't know, when the out there health and safety protocols, like are you stuck just sitting in a hotel doing nothing for like days and days? Like, it's definitely tough. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. I'm gonna go with Diallo though. Again, this news came, so now of course other guys become great plays, and the ownership shifts everywhere. It's like so. We don't know what's going to happen, but I do think he is one of the safer Pistons if you are going to go to a Piston. I just think they want to use him. They want to utilize him. He's a good fantasy point per minute guy. Can play him at guard and forward. Tons of spots you can go to. And some guy named McKinley Wright just got rolled in the hell. I don't even know what
Are they at the point where it's all like positive tests? Or are they still doing like close contact bullshit? Are they still doing close contact?
It's all testing.
I'm not sure, but the Pistons are without Beverly, Edwards, Okogie, Prince, Towns, Vanderbilt, Wright, and then it's Noel and Reed. So yeah, man, definitely a disaster there. But the Up to Lock show, enjoy that. That'll be a fun time. Check all that out, breaking all that down. They will be giving you guys the setup for that. And then we'll have all the content you need for NFL. We'll have some Christmas content as well. But we will see you guys later. Merry Christmas to all of you. For me, Hoop, AP, we will see you guys later.